If baseball is considered our national pastime, its cousin softball can't be far behind. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we're going to visit with members of the IPFW women's softball program, including head coach Keith Fisher, his pitching coach Dennis Smith, and 3 members of the team. Softball is the item on the menu this week. Our show is Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maas. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, we had Coach Billy Gurnon on a couple of weeks ago, and baseball is considered the national pastime. We thought it only fair this week to include its kissing cousin, so to speak. That's women's softball. And we welcome back to the program once again the dynamic duo of head coach Keith Fisher on my direct right, and to Keith's right, pitching coach Dennis Smith. Gentlemen, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight.
Thanks, Mike.
And don't worry, Coach, before the show is over, we're going to give you a shot at Billy, should you so desire.
Thank you.
Softball, this is going to be your 3rd year at the helm of the program, and the program is making strides. Let's begin by talking a little bit about what's transpired the previous 2 years, because most of the public, when we look at a sport, unfortunately it's not always correct, but we judge it by the number of wins as opposed to the number of losses. And the W's, there haven't been as many, but this program is on the rise, and I think you would agree.
I agree, Mike. Started out our first year, Dennis and I, and we took over a program of kids that we actually did not recruit, but was a good nucleus of young ladies. We won more games than the university has ever won with that group of young ladies. The following year, we had recruited some kids. Actually, this class, this freshman class we have now, is our actual first big recruiting class that we were able to really go out and recruit. But the second year, we did some things that we won more games, conference games, than the university has ever won. And again, it's not because of, as I point out, that myself or Coach Smith or Coach Long that helps out. It's because of the young ladies that we have in the program and the dedication and the work ethic that they put forth, and that's why we get these wins. You know, it's always nice to sit back and think you're the greatest coach in the world, and I never look at it that way. I look at the people that I'm surrounded with, and that's why we have been successful in little leaps and bounds. This year we have a tremendous freshman recruiting class. And I'm really excited about the things that have taken place so far this fall. Again, the W's and the L's are not in the place that I want them, but there's some reasons for that. Some of the schools that we've played, and now we are D1, and I think we're going to be able to compete in the areas that we're looking at.
Well, you know, you're leading up to my next thought, my next question. How much of an added burden or how much added pressure is there now that we are, in essence, a D1 program? This is the 2nd year of our transitional period, but the schedule, and we'll talk about that in the next segment, is primarily against Division I opponents. Has there been an added burden? Are there more pressures and expectations to succeed now that we're going to D1 as what there might have been prior to that?
To me, I don't feel an added burden. I feel a real excitement to be in a Division I school. Matter of fact, just a little plug for Carol Brueggemann from Purdue University. She's sort of been super with our school by promoting us, and she said, you know, it's so exciting that there's another Division I school in the state of Indiana. And she's talked to other schools in the Big Ten. Michigan State actually called us, asked to come play us here at our university. And so there's some stepping stones and some great things that are taking place. We're excited about our schedule. We've got some big teams, and we're going to play Purdue again, and we're going to play Michigan State, and we're going to play Notre Dame. So, you know, we're going to play some very, very tough teams, but we played some Division I teams this fall, and we found out that we're not that far off, and we're really excited. We're excited that it's taking place.
Well, before we talk about the games that have been played so far this fall, let's talk about the makeup of the team. And I notice you've got your roster in front of you as well. I'll let you take it away from here. Talk about the members of the 2001-2002 IPFW women's softball team.
Well, actually, our team consists of 14 young ladies. We have 2 seniors, we have 4 juniors, 3 sophomores, and 5 freshmen. Our 2 seniors have been with this program for 4 years. Shelley Freilich, she plays outfield for us. We've had her all over, played different positions. She's been on the show before, but right at this point we have her in the outfield. Sonia Atienzo, she's our third baseman. We've got her plugged in there finally at third base. So they're our 2 seniors. Then we have 4 juniors. Lori Ferrote, she's also was a Snyder grad. She's one of our outfielders. Crystal Fisher has been our catcher, been our first baseman. She had a little unfortunate accident this last weekend and might have an ACL tear and some things, but hopefully she'll be back with us this spring if we get everything going correctly. Another junior who is a junior college transfer is Mandy Jaffe. She's actually from the Indianapolis area, and she's sort of going to be a utility player for us, and she's a good hitter, and we've used her as a designated player and a pinch hitter in that role. Our last junior is Stephanie Roth. She was from Leo High School, and Stephanie's been with us, so this is our 3rd year, and we use Stephanie as in pitching, and she comes in and fills in our pitching area, and she got to pitch a full game this last weekend and really did a good job. So those are our juniors. We have 3 sophomores. Carolee Johnson, she was a Blackhawk Christian girl, and she's an outfielder for us. She's been working really hard and has really improved from her freshman year to this year. Mindy Pomeroy, another mainstay pitcher, really improved in her pitching. She worked hard this summer. Coach Smith gave her a lot of different techniques to use and some conditioning type things, and maybe I can tell you later on on Saturday we played against Ball State, how she pitched against Ball State, did a tremendous job. And Sarah Ruckman's a sophomore, but she's actually freshman eligibility. She didn't play last year. She's from East Side High School, and she's an infielder, outfielder. We've been playing her in the outfield. So those are, and then our 5 freshmen, which I'm really excited about the whole team, but I'm really excited about this freshman class. Christina Funk, which you met before, from Snyder High School. Angela Grabchek. Angela came from us from Hobart, Indiana. I was told that she was probably the best athlete that entire school, male or female. So I was really excited about that. We got her to come to IPFW, and a fine young lady, and she's our shortstop this year. And Tierney Green from Northside High School, my place that I stayed for several years in Todd. I had her, as she mentioned, as a freshman in keyboarding and typing, and an excellent young lady, and doing an excellent job at second base for us right at this point. Our other freshman, Mindy Mason, which is our pitcher, is doing a good job. There's a learning process. She's learning the difference between high school softball and college softball, but she's doing a very good job. And our last freshman is Julie Myers. Julie Myers is from Eastside High School, and Julie Myers is a really tough, rugged individual that we put her behind the plate for actually 4 games this last weekend, and she took a lot of punishment, but she's a great player, and I'm excited about all the young ladies that we have on this team this year.
Well, we're going to talk to a few of them in the upcoming segments, but we mentioned you've had a chance to play some games. Briefly, let's talk about these games. We started off with a couple of games against Tri-State and University of St. Francis, and then you had a chance to go on the road and play in a couple of weekend tournaments. Talk about the games you played so far this fall.
Well, we had our first time ever had a fall tournament here at, and I guess you couldn't call it a tournament. We had 3 teams, including ourselves, and played Tri-State. And Tri-State has matter of fact, a young lady that pitched at Snyder High School, and happened to go to Tri-State. And we won that game. I believe it was 2-0. 2-0, and then we went on and played St. Francis, and we beat them. And of course, that's kind of a rivalry, St. Francis and IPFW, and so that was 2 nice wins for us to start right out with a new recruiting class and a new season. Then the following Sunday, we went down to Purdue, and actually, Mike, the first inning, we got out of the game early. They scored 5 runs on us, and Coach Smith kind of was not teaching a lesson, but telling the pitchers and catchers, let's see if you can call your own game. Well, he found out real early that they couldn't call their own game because some of the girls, you can't pitch on the outside of the plate, and they extend their arms and whatever. So after the first inning, he called the rest of the pitches and the games, and I think they only scored 3 runs in different innings. So we weren't that far out of that game. Second game, Mindy Mason pitched, and as she learned that college pitching is a little different than college hitting, because you face 9, and then they put maybe designated hitters or pinch hitters, and they're all great hitters. So we were kind of out of that ball game early, but we learned some lessons. We learned that at this point in time we're not a Big Ten team, but then again we learned that we had some more work to work at it to be better. So we came home, practiced a week, and then we went to IUPUI, and there were 10 teams down there, and we were. Our first game was against the University of Indianapolis. As far as I know, we've never beat the University of Indianapolis, even in the GLVC or whatever, and we beat that team. We're unfortunate we got Crystal Fisher hurt in that game, so she wasn't able to play the rest. But we won that game. We played at 1 in the afternoon, and then at 7 at night we played Ball State. Well, we were excited to play Ball State, and we didn't know what was going to take place. We were ahead 3-1, and we were the home team at the top of the 7th, and 2 outs. They had 2 on, and Ball State scored 3 runs, so we were down 4-3, and the girls kind of had their chins down. I said, girls, this ball game's not over with. We came back in the bottom of the 7th and scored 1 run, and we tied it up. And then in a lot of tournament play, they have international tiebreakers. They put a girl at second base, and then the team has 3 outs. And they scored a run their first time up, and then it was our turn, and we scored a run. So we went to the next inning, and I believe they scored 2 runs, and we scored 2 runs. And then we played the 3rd inning, and they scored 2, we scored 1, and we got beat by 1 run. But it was an exciting ball game. It was a tremendous ball game. The other teams that were there was surrounded the field. They were just watching this game because it was an excellent ball game. There weren't hardly any errors at all, and a lot of tremendous play. So we felt really good. We hate to lose. I don't like to lose, but we felt very good that we could play with a Division I team as Ball State, which has been established for a long time, and we got a lot of compliments from all different teams. Then after that game was over, which was about 10:30 at night, we had to play another game against the University of Evansville, and I didn't pitch Mindy Mason pitched one game, Mindy Pomeroy pitched the other, so we pitched Stephanie Roth, and she really did a tremendous job. We lost that game 6-1. Again, I do not like to lose, but it showed that we could still play with a Division I team. We got back to the motel about 1 o'clock, and we had to get up at 6 and play the next morning, so we were kind of tired. But we played IUPUI. We lost that game. Still, there was a lot of great things that we learned from this tournament. So we're looking forward to the spring.
It's a lot of action, that's for sure. We're going to take a break, and we're going to ask you two to step aside in a moment. And we're going to bring on a couple of the freshman members of the IPFW women's softball team. And they will be Tierney Green from Northside High School and Christina Funk from Snyder High School. And they will appear on Mastodon Spotlight when it returns in just a moment.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Matthew Shepard died after he was beaten and tied to a fence. 2 men have been charged. One pleaded guilty.
You know, my biggest regret after walking into the hospital and seeing him was I didn't tell him enough as a father that I loved him. The thing that I've learned most is that your son is your son and your daughter is your daughter, regardless of whether they're straight or gay.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time for one of the more enjoyable portions of the program, a chance to speak to some of the student athletes here at IPFW. And we have a chance right now to speak with a couple of members of the women's softball team. To my immediate right is freshman Tierney Green from Northside High School. And to Tierney's right is Christina Funk. Christina is a freshman who graduated from Snyder High School. Ladies, welcome both to IPFW and to Mastodon Spotlight. Tell us a little bit about yourself if you can, and Tierney, we'll start with you first.
I graduated from Northside High School last year, and I'm going to major in biology right now.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yep.
Christina?
As you said, I graduated from Snyder High School last year, and I'm a biology pre-med major, and I want to go in and be a pediatrician. And
as we said off air, Coach Fisher hopes that once you accomplish that goal, that you'll be his personal physician and have all kinds of fun giving him lots of prescriptions down the road. Ladies, if I can ask, both of you are Fort Wayne products. What led to your decisions to attend IPFW as opposed to perhaps going somewhere else?
Well, for me, I wanted to play softball, and I didn't get any of my stats out soon enough. And I mean, IPFW is a really good school, and you know, I had Coach Fisher in high school. He taught me typing, so I decided to come here so I could play.
Christina?
It's pretty close to home, and money-wise, it was just smarter, and I really wanted to play softball, and this is a place that offered me a good deal.
We mentioned at the top, both of you played here in Fort Wayne for Northside High School and Snyder, which means you played against each other for at least 2, 3, or 4 years at the high school level. Talk about some of those experiences, playing against each other first.
Well, for me, we always rivaled against Snyder just because our coach would always, you know, build up that game. So I really liked playing against Christina. It was pretty fun.
Christina?
We always rivaled against Northrop, but Northside was one of our other rivals, and it was fun when we went over there. And, like, the coaches knew each other, the different coaches I had, and it was just always fun. We played them even before the season started.
Yeah,
like,
we had a
practice
scrimmage.
games,
Yeah.
like every year.
Christina, I know, having covered some of the high school beat myself for the newspapers and so forth, you had more than one coach at Snyder High School. What was that experience like, having to play for different coaches?
It was kind of frustrating because each year you'd have to show the coach what you could do or where you could play, and finally my junior and senior year we had a steady coach, and he's still going to be there, and I think he'll stay there. But it was, between the 3 coaches, it was really different between their attitudes. Like my freshman year, it was really relaxed, and then my sophomore year, the coach was kind of, I mean, he was a good coach, but it's just different. And then the junior and senior year, it was really focused, and we were ready to set goals and win.
Well, now both of you are here at IPFW, and you've had a chance this fall to play a few games in preparation for the main season, which will be in the spring. Since you're, in a manner of speaking, fresh out of high school and freshly into college, what are some of the similarities and the differences that you've noticed between playing at the high school level and playing at the collegiate level?
Well, in college, the girls, like in the other teams, seem like they're more focused and they're ready to play and they want to play. At least in my high school experience, you just kind of like got a bunch of girls together and this is your softball team. So it's a lot different. Like they're more ready to go and willing to play.
Christina?
I think like the pitchers have more control over the ball, more movement, and like she said, in high school it was kind of just, you know, you're out there for fun, but in college you have actual girls that want to play, want to be out on the field, and are out there, you know, to win.
Speaking of pitching, and we're going to have one of your teammates on in the next segment, I wanted to bring up the subject of collegiate pitching as opposed to high school pitching. And I know that both of you have had the chance to face one of the better high school softball pitchers in the area, Amy Kendo of Northrop. And talk about the way she pitches, talk about the way some other pitchers you faced in high school, and the differences between the high school pitcher and the college pitcher.
Well, Amy Kendall's a really good pitcher, and when I decided to play in college, I thought pitching was going to be, you know, just like her, if not better. And we've played a few games, and the pitching hasn't been as dominant as she has been when she, you know, pitched against us. But I think once we play more of the Division I schools, it'll be like that. So I'm glad that I had a chance to actually play against her, like my 4 years before I came to college, to see what real pitching is like.
Christina?
Yeah, I have yet to see some pitchers in college that pitch like she did. I mean, she was awesome. And you know, you have your slow pitchers and fast pitchers in high school, and now it's like medium, and I mean, they're still good though.
Well, as I said earlier, we just finished the fall portion of the schedule. You played 8 games, and I believe you were 3-5 in those 8 games. Now there's a bit of a lull between now and the springtime. And I look at the schedule, Coach is taking you down south to Florida for hopefully 10 games come the early part of March. What are you going to do between now and March in preparation for the spring season? In terms of workouts, in terms of not just physical preparation but mental preparation. What are you going to do between now and 1st of March?
Probably just the normal conditioning, and then every once in a while we can, you know, hit in the cage or take some grounders, whatever will keep us in shape.
I'm just gonna make sure, you know, conditioning. That's we have to go to that, of course, and then I just hit during the off season and field. Just make sure I'm ready and still focused.
Let me bring up one other quick question that you're going to get adapted to, and that's combining being a student as well as being an athlete. In terms of the studies, have the coaches mentioned anything as to what to expect, and how do you combine being in the classroom as well as being on the softball diamond?
Coach emphasizes that classroom is before softball, so he really wants us to succeed in the classroom and then succeed on the field.
You know, that's Coach emphasizes student athlete. You know, you're student first above all. And if you have a problem, you know, we tell him we need to do our schoolwork and stuff.
Final question, because we're almost out of time, and that'll make both of you happy. Hopes, goals, and dreams for the upcoming season. Tierney, you first.
I think probably my biggest hope would probably be, I really want people to see us as a Division I softball program. And I know there's other schools that are around this area that don't see us as Division I, and I want them to recognize that we can play with Division I, and we're going to.
Christina?
I want us to hit well and, you know, just step it up and play to the best of our ability, and I want people to take us seriously too.
Well, we echo that sentiment, and we hope that you both do well, both individually and the team as well as a team as well. But we thank you for coming on the program today. Again, welcome to the university, and I know the coaches will take good care of you and we wish you success down the road.
Thanks.
Tierney Green and Christina Funk have been our guests, freshman members of the women's softball team. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk with another freshman. That's pitcher Mindy Mason, and for good luck, she'll bring along pitching coach Dennis Smith as well. So that's what will take place when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
For over 3 decades, Dr. James Owen has been credited for helping IPFW become a top-rated school through not only teaching, but also his involvement in the Fort Wayne community.
The kind of people that the city were hiring at the time were people with advanced computer skills. I thought, my Lord, unless my students get up to speed in this particular area, skill and talent, knowledge, that they weren't going to be competitive in the job market.
Dr. Owen developed courses that would train his students to become leaders in the community.
At one time, of the 6 major department heads in the city of Fort Wayne, 3 of them were former students of mine that I'd recommended for the job.
He makes a point to stay in touch with former students, and that makes a difference in their lives.
Whenever I think about undergraduate days, I always think about old Professor so-and-so. She said, I have one like that too. And she said that's Dr. Owen.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We continue our student-athlete segment of the program. And in this segment, we welcome another freshman member of the women's softball team to both IPFW and to Mastodon Spotlight. And we say hello to Mindy Mason. Mindy, welcome.
Thanks.
As we asked your partners in crime in the last segment, please take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay, I graduated from Maumee High School. It's outside of Toledo, Ohio. And I'm a freshman, and my name's Mindy.
Mindy. Maumee, Ohio, Toledo. You had a chance to play Ohio, and you also perhaps had a chance to see some softball in Michigan, seeing that you're on the border. Am I correct in that?
During summer travel, we play in Michigan and all over, but as far as our league goes, we're just strictly in Ohio.
Strictly Ohio. What led to the decision to come here to IPFW?
Well, I really didn't want to stay around home in Ohio, so I got to get away, and they pretty much offered me the best package, and I had the best chance to start and get a lot of playing time.
You're somewhat of a rarity, as I understand it, in that you're a left-hander, if I'm correct. We have next to you pitching coach Dennis Smith. Dennis, how do you deal with a left-hander as opposed to a right-hander? I mean, it may sound like a crazy question, but you've been a former pitcher. Is there anything different in terms of a batter's going to see it coming? A right-hand batter, I would think, would see the pitch coming a little bit easier from a left-hander as opposed to a right-hander.
Well, players now are so diversified anyway. They see both sides. But what really brought my attention to Mindy was her ball movement, and she has all the pitches that we can really keep working on and getting better.
Well, you're leading up to my next question. So much in softball we think about speed, and we talked in the last segment with Christina and Tierney about how they faced Amy Kendall from Northrop, who throws the ball hard. But you don't necessarily just look for speed. What else do you look for in a pitcher like Mindy?
High school speed helps out a lot because of their 40 feet, and once they get to college, they move them back 3 feet. So you have a lot more time to pick the ball up that extra 3 feet, and you really need to hit your spots and really move the ball in and out and up and down. And it's just, the straight ball is just not going to get it in college.
What do you like to throw, Mindy? Do you just like to throw the heater, or do you throw a drop ball? Do you work on some other pitches, or is coach making you work on some other pitches?
Yeah, I throw. I don't even know how many I throw. I don't throw fastballs at all, actually. I don't, because I don't know, straight down the middle isn't really going to cut it for me. So I always move my ball around. I never just throw a fastball. So I always throw different pitches.
One question, I guess, and maybe I'm showing my ignorance, is in a high school level, it seems, that most teams go with one pitcher, maybe two, and you pitch a lot of innings. How are you able to do that, come back time and time again? How much stress is there put on the arm and the shoulder in pitching softball game?
Well, yeah, I pitched for the varsity team pretty much every game since my sophomore year. So I got innings, a lot of innings and stats and stuff. So it really, I don't know, it was like opposed to baseball. Pretty much if you throw every day, pitch every day, it just becomes the usual. It doesn't really, I mean, if I were to take a week off and then go pitch a game, my shoulder would be really, really sore the next day. But if I pitch every day, I'll be fine.
You mentioned that you played in summer leagues, and you've had a chance, as I just said earlier, you're a true freshman here at IPFW. What is the difference that you have seen from when you pitched in high school to when you pitch in a summer league to now having participated in a few ball games here in the fall at IPFW?
Well, actually my league back in Ohio was really the strongest league around, pretty much. And our pitchers were really good. They were even younger, and our pitching staff in our league was really strong. And in high school, I faced about 4 good hitters on each team, really, if that. And then summer travel ball, you pretty much face a lot of college freshmen in the 18 and under league. So that I'd get, a good 6 hitters in the lineup. But coming here and playing Purdue, they were 9 deep all through their lineup, so that was stressful to me, but it's different.
Coach, how do you teach her to make the proper adjustments that she's going to need to make as we go through the season?
A lot of practice and just a lot of live game situations. It's the quickest way to learn.
From a mental standpoint, however, granted, you've had the experience in high school, and as you said, the summer league playing against and pitching to freshmen, but how do you anticipate now, especially when we go into the spring season, facing a number of D1 cream of the crop opponents? How do you feel your preparation is going to be?
Well, I just pretty much have to, be able to hit my spots just constantly, which I've worked on that for the past 3-4 years, so I should have it down by now. We'll see. I just have to keep my head up, I guess.
I'll ask you the same question I asked the other 2 gals. What are your hopes, goals, dreams, and ambitions for this upcoming season?
Pretty much just that we'll play with the big D1 schools and we'll hang in there and we'll give them a good fight for the game.
If I can turn away briefly, we're almost out of time, to the scholastic side of things. Your field of study is?
I'm undecided, but it'll probably be communications.
Well, we wish you well, and we thank you for coming on the program today. And we look forward to both hearing and seeing good things to come through the next 4 years from the pitcher's mound at IPFW. But thanks again for coming on board.
Thanks.
Thank you too, Coach.
Thanks.
We'll take a break, and as we say again, thank you to Mindy Mason and her pitching coach, Dennis Smith. We're going to ask Coach Smith to stick around. We're going to bring his partner in crime back, and that's head coach Keith Fisher. And we'll look ahead to what to expect come springtime with the IPFW Women's Softball program. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
The good earth. It gives us everything. And now you can give something back. By becoming an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for the good Earth, right in your own community. It's the only Earth we'll ever have. Help make it a better place for all of us. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Coach Dennis Smith has stayed here after being on with pitcher Mindy Mason, and returning to the chair is the head man of college softball here at IPFW, Keith Fisher. And Coach, before we talk about what's ahead for this ball club, brief comments on the three ladies that appeared today on the program, Christina Funk, Tierney Green, and Mindy Mason. Your thoughts? They are freshmen, but freshmen develop very quickly.
This is true. They showed this last weekend when we played in this tournament. They showed actually they might be freshmen, but they didn't play like freshmen. They're all really good hitters, even Mindy Mason being a pitcher. And a lot of times pitchers don't get to hit much in college, and she bats from the left side. We do need some people batting from the left side, but she makes good contact with the ball, and so we're excited about her being over the left side of the plate. Tierney Green did an outstanding job for us. She made some outstanding plays at second base. I watched Tierney. I kind of stand back, let the assistant coaches do thing in practice and work some different things, and I sort of stand back and observe some things. And Tierney, of course, she kids me. She says, "Coach, 6 in the morning." She says, "I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she plays." She plays better than she practices, but she did a tremendous job for us. She got some tremendous hits. Christina Funk, very strong girl, is going to be a tremendous asset to our program. And I'm just excited about all these freshmen.
I've got to ask you, because Tierney mentioned that you were her typing teacher.
That's correct.
Did she pass?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she was an outstanding student for me. And I'll tell you the truth, I've had kids come back to me, well, matter of fact, a lady that works over in our athletic department, Heather Allwine, and she walked in when she got the job, and she looked and she said, "Mr. Fisher." And I knew the face, didn't know the name at that time. And of course, she was kidding me. She said, "You failed me in typing." And I said, "No way." So I got for some reason, I kept all my grade books. Now, don't ask me why. I kept all my grade books, put them in the box when I retired. So I went and got the grade book out. I threw them up on the top of my barn and got it out. And she didn't fail. But so they can't say, because I've got the proof now.
Coach Dennis Smith, you had a chance. Obviously, you sat with Mindy in our segment with her. Compare her, maybe it's not the right word, compare, but the fact that Mindy is a valuable addition to the team and to your pitching staff. And as Keith mentioned earlier, when you played in this tournament over this past weekend, you had one game where you pitched Mindy, you had one game where you pitched Mandy Pomeroy, and one game where you pitched Stephanie Roth. How important is it to have more than one good arm on the pitching mound?
It's very essential. A lot of the big schools we're going up against, they have one pitcher on the mound and they have the other one warmed up at all times. Like Purdue, I think, is about 5 deep. Everybody's warming up all the time. The one game they went through 3 pitchers. And the more pitchers we can get, the better it'll be.
What is your biggest challenge with this year's pitching staff?
Just getting them to reach their full potential.
You've got a situation, and I know we talked about it briefly with Mindy. A lot of pitchers in high school, they want the ball. They want to be on the mound every inning, every inning. Is it healthy to have that now on a collegiate level, or how do you break the news to some of these pitchers that they may not be on the pitching mound as much as they would like?
Not just so much. You want that from the pitcher and the players. I mean, as a player, you always want to be on that field. That's kind of the job up to the coaches to disperse all the playing time and keep everybody happy. But you definitely want that drive for every player to be out on that field. Like Ball State game, Christina was on the bench and you put her in when we were down by 1. I think it was possibly 2 outs. she came up with a big hit. I'm sure she wanted to be in that spot, so that's what we need.
Well, let's look ahead now, gentlemen. The fall portion of the schedule game-wise is complete, and you don't return to actual game competition until the first part of March, when somehow you finagled Athletic Director Mark Pope into taking a trip down to Florida. He okayed it. I don't know, we have to have a talk with him, but you're gonna start the real primary spring season down in Orlando the first part of March, where you're scheduled to play 10 games against various schools. Talk about the importance of that trip. Obviously, going from the cold weather climate and the snow up here down to the warm weather climate down in Florida. What do you hope to accomplish with that first set of 10 games?
Well, actually, starting this month in October, we'll do conditioning, and what it means, we will not pick up a softball or bats or anything like that for the entire team. We'll condition a couple days a week. They have sort of a weight program that they work on their own, keep it charted. But we can work individually with an NCAA ruling of four members with one coach for an hour. We'll probably do some individualized things just to keep them sharp as far as batting and some of the fielding, and the coach will work with the pitchers, individualized pitchers and catchers. Then in January, when everyone comes back from Christmas break, our official practice will start. Again, we practice 6 to 8 in the morning. We have the entire Gates Center facilities as far as the gymnasium, and we can set up a complete infield. We have a batting cage which we can split and have 2 areas of 43 feet of pitching and so forth. So indoor practice gets old, but that's something we have to do because the situation we're in, the weather. Then we go to Florida, and we're ready to step on an actual field. We will play 10 different Division I teams. There will be 43 different Division I teams at this tournament, and they'll pick out, or whoever's in charge will match us up with 10 different teams. We don't know who they're going to be at this point, but there's several of them. So we'll be anxious to get there. We'll be anxious to get in nice warm weather and get started.
Well, after that sojourn, as we take a look at the rest of the schedule, you come back to the realistic frozen north, and hopefully it'll be thawing out by then. But when we look at some of this schedule this year, you go to Western Illinois. You play Oakland University, both members of the Mid-Con. You alluded earlier in an earlier segment, getting a chance to go back to Purdue for a tournament on the 23rd and 24th of March. You get a rematch at Ball State. Other Division I schools, Michigan State, and I know that's a big date that you're looking forward to, Saturday, April the 6th, a doubleheader here at IPFW. University of Detroit Mercy from the Horizon League. Our friends across town, University of St. Francis. Valparaiso, ironically, I'm looking at the schedule, back-to-back doubleheaders with them. Indiana State, University of Toledo, Butler, Notre Dame, and so forth. A lot of quality competition. Our final question of the day, as we've mentioned and asked the other ladies who have been on the program from a coaching staff, hopes, dreams, goals, and ambitions for this upcoming spring season.
Well, my philosophy is if you play good teams, you're going to be a good team someday. And with the freshman class and with the other members of our squad, hopefully we will be successsul in some sort. Again, you always look at the W's and L's, and as a head coach, I guess they point the finger at you if the W's are not in the right place and the L's are away from you. But we will just have to wait and see. We might surprise some people, and that's we're young, but we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to play the best of our ability.
Any words of wisdom for Coach Billy Gurdon?
Well, Billy and I are very competitive out on the golf course, and the other day we were playing together, and I happened to hit my drive, and it landed on the cart path, and it was a cement cart path, and so we pull up there, and I mean, the rule of thumb is that you get a drop off the cart path, pick the ball up and measure and drop it. And so I went over there and I bent down to pick up the ball, and Billy said, no, you don't touch it. And I said, no, wait a minute, no, we play the ball where it's at. So I said, okay. So I got a club out and I hit it, and the concrete smoked and the sparks flew off the bottom of the club, and I hit a good shot. And he said, boy, that was a tremendous shot you hit. He said, what club did you use? And I said, I used your 5-iron. So that's where we're at this point.
Oh, we end it with that. Thank you for coming on the program today. Thank you for bringing some of your players. We wish you well, and we look forward to having you on in the spring, especially when you face some of these top caliber D1 programs. But again, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Mike.
Keith Fisher, head softball coach here at IPFW. His trusty sidekick, pitching coach Dennis Smith, have been our guests. We're going to take a break and collect our thoughts. And when we come back, one of my broadcasting sidekicks is going to appear, and that is Ryan Perrott. So stay tuned for that. Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Was in another lifetime, one of toil and blood. When blackness was a virtue, the road was.
If we do not take responsibility for saving animals from extinction, we allow a part of ourselves to die with them. Help World Wildlife Fund protect animals in the places where they live by ordering a free action kit. Together, we can leave our children a living planet.
Come in, she said, I'll give ya shelter from the storm.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We once again thank Coach Fisher and Coach Smith and the gals for appearing on the program today. And we wanted to end the program this week in style, so to speak, and I'm very pleased to have one of my partners in crime on College 56 Sports with us, and I want to welcome officially for the first time to Mastodon Spotlight, Ryan Perrott.
It's an honor to be here. I've never been here. I watched the show. I've never been here. How does that work?
For the benefit of some of the viewers who may or may not have seen our program or may have seen our programming in the past, politely take a moment and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I came to IPFW in 1995, the fall of 1995. I was fortunate enough to get a volleyball scholarship, and I played from 96 through 99, IPFW men's volleyball, and in 1999, we had that great team, Chris Gislin, Scott Lane, Hector Soto, Javier Escobar. We went to the Final Four at UCLA, and that's when I finished my career. I'm originally from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, and so you can say I'm pretty much American as is. And I graduated officially May of 2001 with an accounting degree, a bachelor's degree in accounting, and a minor in media production / broadcasting. And now I'm in grad school, taking some communications classes for grad school, and so far so good. And as part of my spare time, I broadcast. And I did an internship with NBC 33 here in the area, and it went really well. And I just started my 3rd season here for College 56, doing the women's volleyball match with Mark Franke over the weekend. And of course, I'll be teaming up with you to do women's basketball this fall
yes,
and early spring.
It'll be year number 2 with the basketball and year number 3 for men's
volleyball as well.
And I will make no bones about it. You have saved my heart on many an occasion, but it has been a delight.
Me too. I have learned so much from you and from Mark and Bernie and everybody in the staff, and it's been a tremendous honor to work.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, Ryan, is the fact that you were a former athlete here at IPFW. And one of the questions I want to ask, how do you perceive this transition? Granted, the volleyball program on the men's side, in essence, has been a D1 program for many, many years. But now the rest of the athletic department is joining suit. How do you see this progression? Good, bad, indifferent, or otherwise?
I think everybody had their mixed views or opinions at the beginning. And I think a lot of, especially the athletes, when this came down, were taken by surprise at the fact that, hey, we were granted Division I status, when a lot of the athletes didn't think we were capable, this school capable of doing that. And I think that a lot of the athletes now have gotten over that spell, that numbness, if you will. And I think, you know what, I think it is time. I really do. I think if you take a look at the athletic programs here, I mean, we're very competitive under the Division I schedule, men's, women's soccer, you know, softball, women's volleyball. So it's good to see the teams playing very well, and of course we're going to see the basketball teams when they start their Division I schedule. But you know what, I really think the athletes have gotten over it, whether they disliked it at the beginning or liked it, what have you. But now that we're in that transition phase, hey, we're under Division I schedule, Division I rules, and our teams are very competitive, Mike. They're as competitive as anything I've seen. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Let's put it that way. We're moving in the right direction, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time for society here in Fort Wayne to say, you know what, fully embrace the idea that IPFW is Division I.
You're most perceptive. One thing I like about you, you're most perceptive, because what I was going to come up and ask next, yes, the student body and the university here has more or less accepted the fact, yes, we're going to be Division I all the way through, and here we are. But the public, one of the biggest challenges of the university, and especially the athletic department, is, not to coin a phrase, selling the public on the fact that we have a quality athletic program. Come out and see for yourself. Do you think this community will ever accept that fact?
I think they will. I honestly, I really do think that they'll start to embrace. And obviously, I don't want to put pressure on the men's or women's basketball team, especially the men's basketball team, but I'm going to tell you, when they go to the Coliseum to play in November, December, I'm going to tell you right now, the world will be watching here in Fort Wayne, because that'll make or break, honestly, the idea of, hey, will they fully accept IPFW as a Division I sort of protocol? And, you know, and when you go behind the scenes and you take a look at it, the way that we, you know, became Division I, our former athletic director, Walter Bowman, is no longer here. We've brought in Mark Pope, you know, and you know, a lot of the athletes who were eligible to play under Division II, they caught them by surprise, then they lost their eligibility, and that affected almost every team. But now I think people have gotten over that fact, and I know I don't want to put pressure on Coach Dole or anything, but when we play at the Coliseum for basketball, we'll see whether or not we are fully embraced as a Division I
November 16th is coming closer.
Yes, indeed.
Let's take a brief look in what time we have. Let's utilize your expertise once more. You and Mark Franke did broadcast the match last Saturday with Northern Kentucky, and unfortunately the hex still continues. The women's team has never beaten Northern Kentucky, and we had a good beginning, but things tailed off, and in all honesty, and we talked about it after the match, after the broadcast, there was some frustration. And Coach Kelly Hartley will be here next week, and I don't want to belabor the point, but the team didn't play well as the match progressed, and we lost in 3 games in a row. Your thoughts on this women's volleyball team this year, and then we'll briefly talk about the men.
Okay. Well, Coach Hartley has done a fabulous job with these women. She really has. And and for those who watch the telecast, Northern Kentucky IPFW is one of the greatest rivalries. I don't care what anybody tells me. It's one of the greatest rivalries in all of women's collegiate athletics. Unfortunately, we have not beaten them in 6 years now. And there's something about them coming here, Northern Kentucky, that they play so well. But for us, we did have a good start against Northern Kentucky, but unfortunately we just fell apart. And particularly in two areas. One was serve reception. We just could not pass the ball. And when we did, it was, you know. And then number two was we couldn't control our digs for transition. The balls that we did dig, try to control, were on top of the net, and we have a 5'4" setter. Almost virtually impossible for her to get up and set the volleyball. So those two aspects really killed us over the weekend against Northern Kentucky. But aside from that fact, they have a very good record, very competitive schedule they have played. And I think Coach Hartley has done a fabulous job with these women. Now, you know, we haven't beaten Northern Kentucky in 6 years, but you know what? It's a learning process. We start 3 freshmen on our women's volleyball team, Janelle Pollard, Melissa Meinhardt, Lindy Bankowski, and we mix that in with some senior leadership with Deanna Brown. And I think, and Chrissy Miller as well, the transfer senior, but you know what? It's taking time for us to get over that. Of course, Northern Kentucky Hex, but we're a very competitive volleyball team, and we'll see when they play Valparaiso here at home this week.
We're almost out of time, unfortunately. It's flown by that. Real quickly, we're anxiously looking forward to the men's schedule, and we're looking forward on College 56 to doing most, if not all, the home matches. We start the year off in style. We get one of the West Coast biggies coming to town, Long Beach State. In 30 to 40 seconds, Ryan, your thoughts on the upcoming men's volleyball season?
Youth and patience. Put those together, youth and patience. And I know you're going to have head coach Arnie Ball in here all the time, and thankfully I'm a grad assistant. I get to help and practice with the guys, but we have a lot of freshmen. But we do have that mixture of leadership. Jeff P. Tack, Josh Sanders, Angel Ruiz. We have a setter in this year from Puerto Rico. We're going to be exciting, vibrant, I think, enthusiastic, and good things, I think, because the MIVA is wide open. Well, you know, the MIVA has been wide open for the last couple of years. There's not one dominant team that stands out. I think and with the new rally scoring, if we can play defense, serve the ball aggressively, we're going to win. No question about it, we're going to win.
We have to call a timeout on this discussion now, but thanks for coming by. And
My pleasure.
I'm looking forward later in the season we're going to get together again, and maybe we'll get you involved in our roundtable come holiday time. But thanks for coming again, and I'm looking forward to women's basketball, men's volleyball, and who knows what else as we go along.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Ryan Perrott has been our guest, one of my broadcasting partners in crime. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. As always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW Athletics. Again, thanks to Coach Fisher and the members of the softball team that were here today. Next week, if everything goes well, Coach Kelly Hartley will be back talking about this women's volleyball team and how things are progressing. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying have a great week and go Dons. Halfway through each semester on a college campus, an activity takes place called a midterm. We take stock and see how much you've learned, how far you've progressed. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we're going to do our own midterm with the women's volleyball team. And we have with us head coach Kelly Hartley, and later on we'll have a couple of our players as well. So stay tuned, volleyball's on the menu, women's style. Our show is Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maz. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, it's nearing the midterm time here on campus at IPFW. The semester is rolling along, and we want to take this week's edition of the show and do our own version, if I can get my tongue untied, of a midterm with the women's volleyball team. And we're happy to have back with us once again the head coach of IPFW women's volleyball, Kelly Hartley. Welcome back.
Thanks, Mike.
When last we visited, the season was relatively young. I think we had played 5 or 6 matches, and in fact it was back early part of September, and we were getting ready to take on Miami University from the Mid-American Conference. We've had a number of matches since then, so let's start the program, if we can, by going back a little bit and talk about some of the matches and also some of the events that took place, because due to the unfortunate series of events that took place on the East Coast, there was a period of time when there was no activity at all. But if we can, we'll start off with the Miami match. When we visited, we had just played Montana State, an undefeated team from out west, and they came in here and more or less did a number, but it was an educational number on your team. And you came right back the next night, took on Miami, and came away with a victory.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be happy to talk about the Miami match since it came out in our favor. And they're a solid club from the Mid-American Conference, so that was a very big win for our program. I guess they're all big wins this year, aren't they? But you're right, after looking back at that weekend, we were at the Dayton tournament, I believe, and then we turn around on Labor Day and play, so it's Sunday practice after playing over the weekend. And then Montana State beats us in 3, a very good, they're picked to win the Big Sky, they're having a good season. And we played okay against Montana State. I wasn't disappointed with that loss. And then Tuesday, going into the Miami match, you know, my biggest fear was that we were tired. You know, tired from traveling over the weekend, tired from playing something like 5 or 6 matches in 4 days. So tired both mentally and physically. But that didn't happen. We came out on fire against Miami. They beat us pretty good, I think, the first game. And then we took over and started to gel as a team a little bit. And we were a better team that night. It was a big win for us.
Well, you mentioned that big win. You did play Miami, did go to Dayton, rather, the next weekend. So you had a few days off to try to get the heads cleared and so forth. You took 2 out of 3 in Dayton. You lost to Dayton on the Friday night, but you came back with back-to-back wins over Pennsylvania and St. Francis of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Dayton's a good team. Bigger, maybe a little more athletic, established, good team from the Atlantic 10, I think. So, and we didn't play, again, we didn't play real poorly against Dayton. They just were better. Pennsylvania, that probably could have gone either way. That went 5 games, and they're picked to win the Ivy League, and they're having a good season, and it was just a back-and-forth match. I don't think we played particularly well the whole night, but we put it together at the end when it counted in Game 5. And St. Francis, Pennsylvania, I think they're struggling a little bit right now, but we played decent against them, and we were able to come away that weekend then 2-1.
At that point of the season, things are, for the most part, I think, going somewhat as expected. You've been competitive in most all the matches. You've won several of them. Then we came to the point of time that nobody in this country will ever forget, September 11th. And you were scheduled to go down to Muncie and play Ball State that night. And I know that there was concern, and eventually the match was called off, and fortunately it's been rescheduled, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But talk about, obviously, your thoughts on the events that happened and how it affected your team and perhaps yourself as well, and then go through the fact that you didn't know, are we playing, do we have to get on the bus, and that anxiety, and then follow that up because you were supposed to get on another trip and you actually started a few days later and you weren't able to finish it. But talk about...
Well, that Tuesday, as you said, we were supposed to play Ball State down at Muncie, and I had no desire to get on that bus and go down there. No one did. Talked to Randy, their coach, in the morning, and he thought we were still going to play. And I said, okay, I guess we're still going to play. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned here. We'll find out what it is about, you know, going on with life in the face of adversity and when other things in the world are going on. So, thinking we're going. Then it was canceled sometime in the early afternoon, and we did not go. But we were also preparing at that time for our big trip to Coastal Carolina. We were really looking forward to that, of course, going to Myrtle Beach and doing some team things down there, and that was our big trip this year. We were scheduled to fly out, I want to say Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. Well, I had no intentions of putting my team on a plane, you know, the very next day. If it was just me, I probably would have, but I was not going to take the team on the plane the next day. So I immediately called all the other coaches competing in that tournament, and they had, at least on Tuesday, late afternoon, said, yes, we're still going. Coastal Carolina was still having the tournament, and we were the furthest away. So if we were going to get there, we had to leave pretty quick and get on a bus for probably a 15 or 16-hour ride. So even though the mood on our team was obviously, like our country, not good and not thinking about volleyball probably at all, we were prepared to get on that bus on Wednesday and did. 5.5 hours into our trip, the bus driver's cell phone rings and he says, call your school coach. And I kind of thought for a minute about not calling, but anyways, I did. And Mark Pope informed me that our athletic director informed me that their tournament had been canceled. So we turned around somewhere in Kentucky and came home. And you know, yeah, the kids were bummed, but in the light of everything that was going on, it just was so, you know, irrelevant. It does put your season, it does put the things that puts volleyball, you know, something like that just puts everything into perspective, and even for 18-year-old kids.
Well, that was my next question that I was going to ask is, with what happened, obviously athletics has to take a back seat, and granted, there are a lot of good things that you like to accomplish with athletics, to show off your athletic ability, to show off the teamwork and the chemistry, but in the light of real life, so to speak.
Yeah, and you know, when that term was canceled, and then a couple days, we're getting back to practice and everything, and we didn't practice for a couple days, and we weren't in the bus for 11 hours one day, so then it's like, okay, we got to get back to some sort of normalcy. I really felt that. I felt that was good for our team. Not for anybody else, and everybody else had a different opinion about this, but my sense of what my team needed was to get back to school, get back to living, and get back to volleyball. So we started practice again, and we even were going to put together a tournament that weekend at home, and we had all kinds of people interested. I mean, I must have talked to almost 10 coaches who wanted to come, but then their administration didn't think it was a good idea or would fall through for some reason. So by Friday morning, we squelched that. But I was prepared to put that tournament together here because I felt our team wanted to play. And for me, at least, whatever adversity's been, you know, going on in the world or problems I've had in my own personal life, sports has been a nice diversion. Athletics is a nice thing to look forward to, and I don't think it was out of lack, you know, a lack of respect for what our country was going through and those people who suffered. It was just a diversion because, you know, we were all suffering, and I think it's important to get on with life.
Well, fortunately, at some point, life did go back. I won't say to normal, but it did return to a degree of normalcy. And though you had several matches, you mentioned the Coastal Carolina tournament, and there were 3 matches there that were called off. IUPUI was a match that was called off for a while, though you ended up playing them a little bit later.
No,
or was it a home and home?
No, they were going to come to our tournament, tournament we didn't have.
Okay.
But then did not. They were one of the teams that were.
We ended up.
Yeah.
We mentioned briefly, we might as well say it again right now, Ball State was a match that was postponed, but it has been rescheduled.
Correct, and we get another home match. We now have 8 total, and that's November 8th. That'll be our last home match of the year here. Senior day will still be Sunday, October 28th though. So that it's a weekend for families and stuff. But our last home match now is November 8th instead of October 28th, November 8th against Ball State, and that is a rescheduled match. Yeah, IUPUI though, we did play them down there, I think maybe the Tuesday or a couple Tuesdays after the tragedy.
Well, before we get to that match, you finally returned to the court on September the 18th. So you went a long ways from September the 8th to the 18th, not being able to have your team on the floor to play an actual match.
Yeah, but everybody did.
Everyone was in the same boat.
Yeah.
But for you as a coach, as you mentioned, you like to have your kids back on course doing their thing, in the classroom.
But we don't always get what we want, you know? I've learned this.
How right you are. but looking back now, what do you think you and your team learned from that 10-day stretch where you couldn't do what you wanted to do, so to speak?
Oh, I think it was a good reminder. I don't know if this is a new lesson for all of us. I don't think so. But I think it's a good reminder that things are sure bigger than just our little world, and paying attention to world events and what's going on for other people is certainly, and having some empathy is important. You know, I think that they were able to keep our little day-to-day stuff that seems really trivial in better perspective, maybe for a time. I'm sure we'll get back to where we think, you know, oh, this is the biggest deal ever, you know, and it's not. But I think that really put some things in perspective.
Well, we finally get onto the floor back on the 18th, and you took on Chicago State here at the Gates Center, and a rather convincing victory in 3 straight games.
Yeah, and what I did like about that match is we played well, too. And we saw some different people on the court, and we did a nice job at home.
Well, then you got back on the bus, you went down to Dayton, you took on Wright State at their place, and came up on the short end of a 3-1 score.
Yeah, we went 4 with Wright State. They're a good team, off to their best start in school history, I think. She told me that. They're a good team out of the Horizon League, and they have a nice facility. It was a good experience for us going there. But again, we walked away feeling like we left it on the court, played well, just came up short.
Then you went down to Indianapolis and took on IUPUI.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another 4-game match.
Yeah, but that one different. I can't say that we left it on the court there. That was ugly. We didn't play well. We had some other issues going on we had to take care of with our team, and did. Really, starting with, I think, IUPUI, maybe as far back to Wright State, our starting lineup has been very fluid. Just trying to find 6 that can work together. A nice thing that's happened the last probably 2 matches is we might start this lineup, and we've been really seeing nice things from our subs coming off the bench. And roles from a starting role to a sub change to a sub role has changed for some folks on our team over the last couple weeks, back and forth. And people are responding to those changes. Our young kids have had more opportunity the last couple weeks to play. In fact, against Valpo, we started 4 freshmen, and a sophomore and a junior, so a young team on the court, and we got it done in 3 against Valpo here. I guess that was a week ago.
Yep. Let's digress to one match. And
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead, Mike. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Prior to that, I briefly want to bring up the point, probably the worst match of the year.
Not probably.
It was, but it was the one with perhaps the highest expectation, because you were able to keep on your schedule a match with old GLVC foe Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And that was the match we broadcast here on College 56. And the match got off to a decent start. I thought in game 1 the team played relatively well for a while, but then things seemed to go south. We ended up getting smoked, plain English.
Smoked, spanked, yeah, kicked, however you want to put it.
Yeah,
it was ugly.
And keep it on the clean side, I guess. But we got beat in straight games. And I know you and I commented last week, I had never seen you so angry or frustrated when the match ended.
I was fine. What are you talking about? Yeah, I was pretty angry. Angry because we can play so much better. Angry because our chemistry, our team effort, our system, everything was just not good that day. We did not show up ready to play Northern Kentucky, or anybody. And that it was Northern Kentucky magnified the situation probably. But since then have made some changes, and I think a little pine time for some people. They've woken up a little bit, and certainly given younger kids who are ready for that opportunity to get on the court and get it done, like I was saying against Valpo, was really nice to see. And I think that's helped our team come together. I mean, we had that really adverse day. They got yelled at a little bit and all that by Colin, our assistant, did that, the yelling. not me.
But he's going to get a chance when we have our roundtable later this year of assistant coaches to
get back
retaliate. So
yeah, so Northern Kentucky was a tough day. I guess big picture though, we sure learned a lot. We came out then at home on Tuesday against Valpo and beat a team in 3 that previously we had beaten 5, and played well. So.
And then to finish it off,
life goes on.
To finish it off before this segment is over, after the Valpo match, you went up to suburban Detroit, took on Oakland University from the Mid-Con, and came back. You were down 2-1, and you won game 4, and then you won the 5th game 15-3, so your team was clicking in that 5th game.
Yeah, in the 4th game we got some momentum going, started playing well, better, and things were going our way a little bit more, and then at the end of game 4, I think our kids just decided that this is ours. You know, we came out 9-0. We sided out and then scored 8 points. I think Lindy, our setter, was serving, and we were just hot. Kirsta, I have to mention, Kirsta comes in. I'm sure people were like, what is she doing? Kirsta didn't play much the first 4 games. And then we make a change to put Kirsta in to block a middle that was tearing us up and matched her up against her, and she blocks like 3 balls in the first 5 points. Cold. I'm sure people were saying, what is Coach Hartley doing? This is a kid who's cold. This arena's cold. She hasn't played much in 4 games, and she's going in for the deciding game. But Kirsta got it done, made me look good. I had faith, and she's a girl who's hungry to play right now. So we were really, really pleased with Kirsta's performance coming off the bench in Game 5. She was real big for us against Oakland.
And for the benefit of our viewers, Kirsta is Kirsta Solberg, who is a sophomore from here in Ohio.
Correct. And she's played every position this year for us. She's played outside, she's played opposite, she played middle that match, and she's even went in and blocked the right side of the court when Lindy was on the bench and had to set in transition, I think, once or twice. So she's played every position for us.
Interesting. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to a couple of members of your squad. The Fort Wayne connection, I guess. We're going to talk to Nicole Ray from Northside and Janelle Pollard from Southside.
I hope you have a lot of time for them.
And we will do that. We'll have that conversation when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Frank Palladino has been a professor of biology at IPFW since 1982. He studies the endangered leatherback sea turtle and allows the opportunity for his students to travel with him.
We have a number of undergraduates as well as master's level graduate students who've come with me over the last 10 years to Costa Rica. It's an opportunity that isn't generally available at most institutions.
He makes sure his students in the classroom realize and never forget the enjoyable nature of science.
Science is not only fascinating, it's fun. I think we lose track of that when we're in school, that science is fun, we learn a lot, and can do a lot.
Palladino has a full awareness of the importance of the fieldwork that his students experience with him and how it contributes to their education.
It's an invaluable experience, one which they can then use whatever job they go on to do. And professionally, it really completes their education as a biologist.
This has been an IPFW Faculty Minute. The right school, right here, right now.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping. On Stargate SG-1, my character discovered that the Stargate could be used as a key to unlock an endless variety of adventures. Your key for endless adventure is a good education. Don't limit your options. Stay in school.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now for our student-athlete portion of the program, a chance where we get to visit with some members of the IPFW athletic family, the student athlete side. And this week we are pleased to have with us two members of the women's volleyball team. To my immediate right is Janelle Pollard, and to Janelle's right is Nicole Ray, both of whom are local products. Ladies, welcome to Mastodon Spotlight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janelle, we'll start with you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Academically, I'm a sophomore here at IPFW, but athletically, I'm a freshman. I went to Southside High School. I also went to Lures my freshman year, but Southside my junior and senior year. And I played volleyball there and decided just to come to IPFW because I was close to home. And I decided not to play my first year because just personal problems, and I was tired of the sport. But I got back into it and started playing last year.
Nicole?
Okay. Academically, I'm in my third year, junior. Eligibility-wise, I'm a sophomore. Janelle and I are kind of weird like that. I went to Northside High School here in Fort Wayne. I played athletics all through high school. I've been playing athletics my whole life, and volleyball was my favorite sport. And my freshman year, I didn't get into it, a little late, so I didn't play my first year. I was on the team practicing and everything, but I didn't play. So I'm only a sophomore eligibility-wise.
I asked both of you off camera, and I'll ask you again on camera to put the memory banks to work. Janelle, you played at Southside. Nicole, you played at Northside. Do you recall playing against each other in high school?
No. We had to have, but
I know we did.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
You mentioned, both of you, that you were, in essence, away from the game, where you didn't play the first year you were here at the university. What led you to come back to want to play?
Well, when I wasn't playing, I was coaching at Southside, and just being away and watching them play and have fun, like, it just made me realize how much I wanted to play again. So I asked Coach to give me another chance.
Nicole?
Well, I wasn't going to play sports in college. I first wanted just to be here for a year, and then I was going to go to Indiana University down in Bloomington just to go to school and stay on my academics. And then when I started here, I actually knew Dave Schmidlin, the men's assistant coach, and he was telling me that there was an open spot on the women's team and that I should go talk to Coach and everything. So I did, and she gave me a chance and realized that I wanted to play again.
If we can for a second, we're going to put a little education here for our viewers. Looking at the roster, Janelle, your position opposite, am I correct?
Outside
hitter.
Yeah.
Describe what an outside hitter is.
An outside hitter plays on the left side of the court. You pretty much get most of the sets just because it's the easiest set to set. I personally play all the way around, so I play on the left side in the back row as well. Mostly just hitting and passing, blocking.
Nicole, you're a defensive specialist. Talk about what a defensive specialist does.
Well, as it says, I just play defense. I only go in the back row, the back three positions. Usually it's for a middle, but it's not always in that case. Like with our team, we have Sarah Leffers, our other defensive specialist, going in for a middle, and me either a middle or an outside hitter. So I just go in and play back row. I serve and come out when they need to go in the front row.
Okay, you talk about defense in the back row, then when the other team is serving, you're anticipating receiving their serve, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's the mindset like? Depending, because everyone serves a little bit differently, maybe some harder, some hit more of a float serve. What's your mindset in terms of receiving the serve, and where do you hope to return it to?
Well, when you're back there receiving the serve, you just kind of have to watch the server themselves, I guess, and their mannerisms. And in tape session that Coach has, we watch, and if any of them jump serve, we know it, so it's top spin, so you know to scoot up more or something. Usually it's mostly float serves, so you have to watch them and just basically watch the ball, because it's going to move. If it's a float serve, it moves a lot.
But there's also, and what I want to talk about a little bit today is the strategy. Obviously, you're going to receive the serve, but in most cases, you're going to try to get the ball back towards Lindy, the setter. Talk about the relationship between you and Lindy then.
Me and Lindy?
In the sense that on the court, what does she expect from you, or what do you expect from her?
She expects from me to get it up to her target each time, decently enough that she can make choices on where she's going to set it. Have at least 3 choices, maybe 2 choices of to set the middle and the outside or push it back. She expects me to push it up there every time so she has those choices.
Janelle, talk about your role on the floor. Both. In other words, let's say defensively, like we've talked with Nicole. She plays the back row. She expects to receive the serve, and she's obviously wanting to get the ball to Lindy. What is your role on the defensive side, for example?
If I'm back row, I'm usually playing left side, so I'm usually going for the strong hits from the outside, or any strong hit coming from anywhere. Coach expects that we run through all the tip balls, so she gets on us pretty hard about that. And offensively, I'm just like blocking when you're up at front row, and I don't know, for Lindy, just passing the ball to where she has choices to make is really important.
The fact that Lindy is small for a setter, 5'4", how much added pressure is there for you, both of you, to hit the mark, so to speak, in trying to get the ball back to her in that certain area?
I think she's pretty good at, we have our bad days passing, but she does a pretty good job of getting it where it needs to be. Just like the tight balls are sometimes a little difficult for her, but other than that, I think she's doing a really good job.
Talk for a moment, if you can, ladies, about the difference between playing high school volleyball and playing collegiate volleyball.
High school, I think, is less competitive. When you're in college and playing, everybody wants to be there. They want to be there and be playing, or they wouldn't be on the court. They wouldn't be playing. The coaches wouldn't have them there. In high school, sometimes it's just something for people to do for an after-school activity or something like that. But in college, it's a lot more competitive. It's nice. It's more fun.
It's a lot more intense.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that, Janelle?
I think it's a lot harder in college. In high school, you go to practice and fool around a little bit. But I think in college, you have workouts, you have weights, you have running to do on your own, and you have practice to go to. I just think it's a lot more competitive, a lot harder.
Let's briefly talk about the season so far. As we're taping this show, your team has a record of 9-7. You got out of the box kind of slow, split the first couple of weekends that you played, but you've come on strong as of late. You've won, if I'm adding this up correctly, 6 of your last 9 matches. What's the season been like?
It's been good, actually. We were a young team coming in. We didn't really play together very much. So we have a couple of freshman starters, and we had to get used to them. They had to get used to us. But I think now we're bonding as a team better and playing as a team better.
I think we had some ups and downs, but as time goes on, we're trusting each other more and knowing each other on the court. I think that's just what it takes to become a better team.
When we look at the schedule, as we tape the show, you have a match here tonight at the Gates Center against Eastern Michigan from the Mid-American Conference. And after that, there's only 2 more home matches, and the rest of the way you're at Toledo, you're at Bowling Green, you're at Chicago State, Illinois Chicago, University of Findlay in Ohio, Butler, Youngstown State, and Kent State. The fact that you're not playing as much as home, does that bother you at all, or would you, obviously you'd like to play more at home, but what's it like when you go on the road?
It's difficult just because you're not at home. You've ridden in a bus for a while, you're staying at hotels, you're not in your own atmosphere. And we do like to play at home. It's a lot funner, but it's also fun to go and upset a team at home. And so I guess that's the good part about it, about traveling.
Yeah, it does tire you out. You get a little tiresome of riding on a bus for maybe 4 hours in a row, and then stopping to eat and getting back on and sleeping, and it wears you out.
let's throw the other magical word in there, and it's called academics. After all, you are student athletes, and it is hoped that you will graduate with a degree in an area, and we'll talk about that in a moment. How are you able to combine studies with athletic performance, and how are you able to study when you're on the road?
I think Coach does a good job of keeping us up on that. She does a great job of making us have study tables. We have them quite a bit when we're on the road. We'll have to do it maybe a little bit on the bus or in the hotel when we're stopped, just to keep us up on our studies. And during the week we have study tables, the team, and she keeps us up on that.
What are your fields of study?
I think I'm going into secondary education. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I'm leaning towards.
Possibly being a teacher down the road
Yes,
someday?
possibly.
Nicole?
Mine's OLS. It's Organizational Leadership and Supervision. It's like business management, pretty much.
Interesting. We don't have too much time left in this segment, but I guess one of the final questions that I will ask is, what are your hopes, goals, and dreams for the rest of this season and then beyond?
I just hope that we can become a better team, just mesh well together and have fun and be excited and play well.
That's the biggest thing. Us being a team, I think, is coming together more now than it was in the beginning. We're playing together better. We have more fun together when we're on the court, and that's just an important thing, that we enjoy ourselves and each other and compliment each other on the court. Like me passing and then Janelle going up to hit from Lindy's set. We all compliment each other.
Final question to put you both on the hot seat. What's it like playing for Coach Kelly Hartley?
I enjoy it. She's been one of the best coaches I've ever had.
Expound.
She's good. She teaches you a lot. She wants to bring the best out of you and tries to do that. She's not one that's going to scold you for doing something wrong and sit there and yell at you for 5 minutes. She tries to help you and explain to you what you can do to be a better player.
I think she's good in the area that she gives you chances. Like, she gave me a really big second chance because I didn't come the first year that I was supposed to come. And then she gave me a chance to come back. And she's really wants the team as a unit to work well together. It's not about individuals and their performance. It's about the team and how we function together. But I think she just expects the best out of you and expects you to work hard every day. And she really is a good coach.
I know she'll appreciate hearing those kind words. Ladies, we want to thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to visit with us, and we wish you nothing but success on the court and in the classroom, and we hope to see you again sometime down the road, but thanks again and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janelle Pollard from Southside High School and Nicole Ray from rival Northside High School have been our guests. We'll take a break and bring Coach Kelly Hartley back. That's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids, who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
Stargate. That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilk and the rest of my team use on Stargate SG-1. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. An education can provide you with a similar passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and graduate.
Dr. Matthew Kubik is an architectural engineering professor at IPFW. who utilizes his experience to teach his students one-on-one.
So it's really shoulder-to-shoulder learning that we're looking at problems together for the first time.
Dr. Kubik also is the director of the honors program at IPFW. His ability to teach on a personal level allows him to educate to the needs of his honors students.
They want more conversation. They want a closer contact with professors. They want interactive learning in the classroom.
He is thankful for the advantages of a combined classroom of young students and students who are returning to college after years in the workplace.
That mix of students creates a classroom environment that is exciting, that's vibrant.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
Matthew Shepard died after he was beaten and tied to a fence. 2 men have been charged. One pleaded guilty.
You know, my biggest regret after walking into the hospital and seeing him was I didn't tell him enough as a father that I loved him. The thing that I've learned most is that your son is your son and your daughter is your daughter, regardless of whether they're straight or gay.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight, where we bring the head coach of the IPFW women's volleyball team back to the show, Kelly Hartley. And Kelly, your thoughts on the two ladies we just talked to, Janelle and Nicole?
Well, my thoughts after their kind words is, I guess I'm going to let them play tonight. I wasn't good, no. They're doing a great job for us, and as you can tell by talking to them, very smart, articulate young women we're very proud of. Janelle is a freshman, sophomore academically, was on campus last year as a student, and started to practice with us in the spring. We did recruit her out of high school, but she decided then last minute she didn't want to play, and then she comes to me, as she explained, and wanted another chance, and I was happy to do that. That wasn't a whole lot of effort, Janelle. That was a no-brainer. We were super excited to have Janelle on our team. She's an exciting player to watch, and very enthusiastic. Very loud girl, though. You didn't get a sense of what she's really like there. I was going to tell you before that segment to turn down her microphone, but you didn't have to. She kept a lid on it. Very loud. Nicole, very smart. I think she's a Dean's List student. Very, very bright, over 3.5 usually. And boy, she is a sophomore, but again, her first year comes out for the team after Dave Schmidlin talked to her and talked to me and said, you probably should give her a look, coach. She's as good as some people you have, and she sure has proved that by getting on the court last year as a freshman, her first year with us, and then this year as a sophomore has shown much more consistency, not a better work ethic. She's always worked hard, but I think she works smarter now, takes care of the ball a little bit better. And I think people, of course, look at her different because she has that experience. We are very lucky to have two solid defensive back row players in Sarah Leffers and Nicole Ray. They did talk about, the defense part, but boy, they're a very important part of our offense as well. If we don't pass the ball on target, Lindy has one option, and that's out to Janelle or Chrissy or whoever's outside. So for us to pass the ball on target, that's really the first step of our offense. I think they don't feel a part of our offense, but they certainly are.
You mentioned it was a no-brainer when Janelle wanted to come back. obviously in your career you've maybe had some similar type situations. How difficult is it as a coach when you have a situation where, for whatever reason, a player that you expect to come in and participate doesn't, and then they want to come back? I know each case has to be treated individually.
Oh, absolutely. Each case is very different, you know, and I look at, well, I'm just glad that I've had second and third and fourth and fifth chances in my life, you know, so we have to be patient with people. And Janelle's she was an 18-year-old girl when she made that decision not to play. Why would I as a coach take that from her when she's 19 and she changed her mind? Certainly if she came out for the team and wasn't working hard, wasn't committed to getting in shape very quickly and learning our system, we might not have, you know, after spring practices decided to have her back in the fall. But she came in wanting to play in the spring and got it done, worked hard, got herself in much better condition. And if you watch her, she's only 5'7" or something like that, hitting outside for a Division I volleyball team, but she has some serious hops, a cannon of an arm, and just an explosive type athlete that we needed.
I mentioned at the beginning of the show that it's just about midterm time here on campus. And for all practical purposes, I think it's midterm time for your season. As we tape the show, your team has a record of 9-7. You've won 6 of your last 9 matches. How would you grade your team at this point?
You mean like A through B? A,
if you
B,
want to
C,
go,
D,
if you want to go A, B, C,
like
D, or pass, fail, or in between, or
I'm going to go B. I think there are a couple matches we lost some focus, didn't do the team concept thing, you know, came out as maybe 12 and 13 individuals not ready to play together, and that cost us. And then there are other matches where they, you know, exceeded my expectations and beat some teams that, you know, really it could have gone either way. But in game, we've won like in game 5 4 times, I think. You know, and on the line we've been very, very good. You know, down the stretch and those long ones pulling it out. So I think that might average out to a B. Certainly, if the role we're on, you said we've won 6 of our last 9, and we're playing better as a team in the last, well, since Northern Kentucky. Since whatever Colin yelled in the locker room since that day, you know, if this continues, if we continue to gel as a team, and I really liked Janelle's comments and Nicole's, their focus is on team and playing well. We're not saying about wins and losses. We're talking about putting a good product on the court that works very, very hard, and we're thinking the wins and loss thing might take care of itself if we do that. And we're finally understanding that. And I guess midway through the season is about when this probably should have happened for this young team. We have 7 new people on our team, 6 of them freshmen, including Janelle. And then Chrissy Miller, an important piece to our team and a captain, is new to our team too, but new to our program, you know, and just as a captain, there's only so much probably you can do, especially as a new person learning a system and a new atmosphere and all that.
Has there been anything that surprised you so far? Either way, good, bad, or indifferent to the season?
Surprised me. I hope they're not watching, opponents. I'm surprised that more teams haven't taken advantage of Lindy's, our setter's size. It has hurt us, without a doubt, hurt us bad against Northern Kentucky. Carlos Chia, first-year head coach at Northern Kentucky, but assistant there for years. Smart guy, he took advantage of it. But overall, most teams have not really hurt us with that. And Lindy touches a lot of balls. This is not taking anything away with Lindy. Lindy at 5'4", touches a heck of a lot of balls and plays a good, solid backcourt defense too. So that's one surprise for our team. Other than that, I guess no. I guess my expectations were pretty high, even though we were young, and I get that question a lot. Are you surprised you're over 500, your first year in Division I, and you have so many young kids? But I knew the quality of kids we were bringing in. Melissa Meinhardt, Lindy Bankowski, Lindsay Brammer from Yorktown, Janelle. I knew that we had a really good recruiting class that was going to complement a solid cast of returners.
If I can go back and have you play chalkboard coach for a second, you mentioned a potential liability is the fact that Lindy is only 5'4". How do you as a coach counteract that, or try to counteract that, to make sure that, or try to make sure that the opponents don't hit the ball
Well, we can't make sure they don't hit the ball over her. Can't do that. So what we can do is put a sub in for Lindy sometimes, and we'll move Mo over to the right side of the court and block where Lindy was, and then put that other sub maybe in the middle. So we change our blockers around. We're lucky that Melissa Meinhardt has really good hands and is comfortable setting in transition if we don't block that ball. So we've done that. But you know, sometimes they, in an effort to take it to Lindy and hit over the top of Lindy, they force it, and then they'll bang it into the antenna. You know, they're aiming instead of just taking a good swing. But that's one thing we can do, is put a sub in that rotation, or move Lindy to block elsewhere and make a change. Another thing we can do is just dig a ball. You know, they hit over the top of her, we could just dig it, and that sometimes works.
I think I surprised the Nicole and Janelle when I asked them flat out to talk a little bit about the strategy in terms of the position they play and what their primary objectives are. Talk a little bit about the strategy of a volleyball match. And obviously you've got certain people, like Lindy is your setter, who wants to set up somebody like, you mentioned Chrissy or Janelle. And if you got Nicole as a defensive specialist who plays maybe primarily in the back row, if you can, take a couple of moments and talk about the different positions and how they relate to the game plan for beating your opponent.
Well, I'll piggyback off of what Janelle was talking about, her position. Yeah, she hits from the left side of the court. Yeah, she gets set a lot. As a result of, if passing isn't real good, one of our only options is to set the back row or to get the ball high and outside. It's really difficult to run an offense, our offense, and run our system if we're not passing well. So when we're not, the ball goes outside, and Janelle or Chrissy or Amy, Kirsta, someone else is out there on the left side. Also, the mentality of a left side hitter, and Janelle's starting to get that. She didn't voice it here today, but you know, you got to put the ball away. I don't care if you have 3 blockers on you, you got to find a way to put the ball away. And she is getting much better about taking a swing and taking risks and being aggressive. She's very talented at moving the ball around and ball control and keeping the ball in play. But in an effort to do that, you don't terminate balls. So we've been on her about, man, you got to swing hard. You're going to get blocked once in a while. You're 5'7", suck it up. We will, you know. So that's happening. Now the ball will hit the floor after she's blocked. She'll look at me like, it's your fault. It's your fault. I could have shotted that around. But we're going to live with that because I don't know if you're a Velpo. I mean, she can terminate the volleyball right now when she wants to. But if she just shots it, that's not going to work. So that's the mentality, a little bit of a left side we're looking for. Handle the ball,
Valpo
pass.
match, and I was there for the one here, where it seemed like Valpo tried to get started in each of the 3 games, and they seemed to get a little bit of momentum. And then Janelle, I thought, played well, like you said,
she had a really good match
hammering it
against Valpo.
home and just taking Uncle Mo and swinging it over to your side.
Yeah, she's an exciting player to watch. She's athletic, like I said. She's very explosive, and she hits the ball hard. And if she's going to get blocked, she's going to hurt your hands at least, you know. And I like that. She's a good kid. And as far as the mentality of the defensive specialist, boy, you got to come in and be ready to serve. Be ready to serve tough. We don't want your 2 and 3 lollipop serves before you're warm, then decide to rip one. And Coco and Sarah have been serving tough, and you know, come in mentally ready to play. Going in and out is kind of a hard thing.
Nicole mentioned watching videotapes. How much videotape watching are you able to do?
We watch a lot. When I say a lot, on every opponent, that's part of our preparation for every single opponent. Colin Leiter does an excellent job of, he gets the tape on the opponent. We kind of watch it kind of laid back together, getting a feel for the team, but then he goes through each rotation and puts together, you know, rotation 1, this is what they do, this is what we can expect. He charts it for those people who learn that way, and then they see it on screen as well. And we talk it through it, watch it once or twice or whatever it takes. They ask questions. We decide how we're going to defend certain things or who we need to key on, or just to see their tendencies. So it's not the first time on game day. And Colin does a great job with that.
Well, as we're taping this show, you have 11 matches left, including a match tonight at home at the Gates Center against Eastern Michigan, another MAC team. Talk about this match tonight, and then we're going to talk about the rest of the schedule.
It's going to be a tough match. It's going to be a tough week. We play, you said, Eastern Michigan tonight, Toledo this weekend, they're on a roll, and then Bowling Green, very, very tough out of the Mid-American Conference. So 3 MAC schools in the next week. So very tough week. I expect Eastern Michigan to be somewhat like us in that, boy, they'll just send the ball back. They'll find a way and play defense, and sometimes it'll be ugly, but they're going to send it back. They have a middle who's playing real well right now, who, coincidentally, I think 2 kids on that team. I know the one, the middle, I'm talking about Shayna Munson's her name, is from Bedford High School, Temperance Bedford High School. Former teammates of Melissa Meinhardt and Lindy Mankowski from our team. So it's going to be a little high school reunion action here tonight in Gates Center with 4 kids on those teams. And Kim Barrington's a good friend of mine from Eastern Michigan. That's how we got her to come here. There was no trick to that. I called her and asked her and begged and told her I owed her one, and she came down. So it should be a good match. We saw them last spring and we split. That doesn't mean anything, but a little trivia.
Well, it's a home match, and of course, as our viewing audience, when they see this show, it will already been played, and hopefully a victory. But as you mentioned, then at Toledo, at Bowling Green State, at Chicago State on the 19th of October, at Illinois Chicago on the 27th of October. Then we come home for a Sunday match, which we're going to broadcast here on College 56 Sports against Wisconsin Green Bay. That's Sunday, October 28th at 2 o'clock. Then we go back on the road for 4 of the last 5 matches, at University of Findlay, at Butler, then that rescheduled match with Ball State here on November the 8th, and then you finish it off with trips to Youngstown State and Kent State. It's a brutal schedule coming home in terms of the fact that you're getting on a bus, traveling away from the classroom, away from the Gates Center floor.
Yeah, we're fortunately, if you look at those trips, though, with the exception of the Kent State Youngstown trip, we'll miss Monday of classes because we play Kent State on a Monday. But Sunday we play Youngstown State, so we're not missing classes that day. The Tuesday matches, obviously, we leave early enough, so if they have an afternoon class, they'll miss that. But these aren't extended period trips where we're flying, you know, halfway across the country to play these teams. They are get on a bus for 2 hours, you know, or 3 hours to Chicago, and play, win, eat, come home, sleep in your own bed, go to class the next day. And you know, that wasn't a mistake. I did that by design. There were enough Division I schools within a 2 and 3 hour radius where we could accomplish that. You know, play quality teams, be on a bus for a short period of time, and sleep in our own beds and not miss a lot of school. And I think that was important for a year like this.
Final question, because John, our ace in the hole, tells us we're almost out of time.
John.
How do you feel your team will do these last 11 matches?
How do I feel we'll do? Well, I think we've proven by the first half of our schedule that we're an extremely competitive team. And I think some teams early took us lightly in that, you know, we were new to Division I, they didn't know a lot about us. Maybe they didn't watch tape on us or prepare real hard, and it maybe cost them now that we're 9-7. So the second half could be harder in that regard. You know, they look at us as a team with a winning record, and maybe they need to get ready for us a little differently. Because we're gelling well right now, because our team is finally understanding the importance of playing team volleyball and not focus on how so-and-so and so-and-so and all these individuals are doing, and that if you don't perform well and work hard and practice and all those things, boy, we have a lot of other people on our roster who can and will. And we've talked about that. That's not a bad thing. That's a positive thing for our team. And we're finally understanding that. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that it took us almost half of the year to really gel well since we were so young and so many new people. So I expect good things in the last half of the schedule. I really do. I think that we have a very strong chance of finishing over 500, maybe well over 500. The next week's going to be very tough, but I expect good things from us. I think that these young kids are hungry to play, and we had a really good practice yesterday. So I'm in a good mood today.
And hopefully, if we'll win tonight, we'll start keep the ball rolling the rest of the way. But we wish you well. And
thank you.
We thank you much for coming on. It's always appreciated. And one more time, in roughly about 5 or 6 weeks, once the season is completed, we'd like to come back and take a look back and a look forward. So
Okay.
thanks a bunch and good luck.
Thank you, Mike.
Kelly Hartley has been our guest, the head women's volleyball coach here at IPFW. We thank her, and we thank Nicole Ray and Janelle Pollard. Almost forgot it. Janelle Pollard for coming on as well. We wish them well the rest of the way on the volleyball court. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. As always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. We invite you to come back next week. We hope to have Terry Stefankowitz, possibly Mike Harper, his right arm, and perhaps a couple of soccer players as well as we discuss men's and women's soccer. But that's next week. And until next week, this is Mike Moss saying have a great week and go Dons.